So we are working on assignment number 20. We're going over assignments together. We took notes yesterday and on Monday. So this one, and we talked about having those little papers like Post-its that would help isolate your angle, what you're looking for. So I would suggest something like this for number 9. So this is the arc you're looking for right here. That's its matching arc. So how do I find that arc given the information I have? Anybody? Because this is an inscribed angle with that matching arc. I need this arc before I can find that angle. So this line down the center tells me something important. What does it mean? Okay, good, thank you. Yes, it means that it's 180. Good. And then to find that arc, people were putting it in the chat box. We do take 180 and subtract 86. Okay. So 180 minus 86 is going to give us 94. So that arc is 94. If I want to go from my arc to my angle, what do I need to do? How do I solve that? Good. Okay. Good. Yep. Divide 94 by what? Good. By 2. And we get, put your answer in the chat box. This is called participation. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I mean, these are not super hard. They do get a little more challenging. So just marking off some people that are participating. It takes a little bit longer at the beginning, but it helps keep me on track. Okay, so let's do the next one. This, in order to find this angle, I need that arc. So put in the chat box the value of that arc. Put in the chat box the value of that arc. Thank you, Jose. 94 on number 9 was the arc that we needed to find in order to get the angle we were looking for. So we do 94 divided by 2, and we get 47. So this angle is 47. Okay. And then finding the arc, the matching arc on number 11. Okay. And some of you got that. Okay, good. And some of you went ahead and found the answer. That's fine. Nice. Okay, good. I appreciate the honesty of the I'm not sure. Okay, so what do we know If you said, I'm not sure, you have to think about it doesn't go through the center like this one, so I know that it's a half because it's not a half. But I do know I have the whole circle and I have 2 out of the 3 of my arcs. So in order to find this, we can take the 360 and minus what we have. Remember, we use the 360 because that's the whole circle. But we have these two that add together, the 122 and 62, make 184. So we get 176. So now I know that this arc is 176. And we can find this angle because we're going from bigger to smaller by dividing by 2. And some of you put that in the chat box already. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Let's look at number 13. This should be really quick, but the answer in the chat box. Actually, finding this will be really quick. And but they want you to find that arc. Okay. So it can still be mental math, but you have to understand what you need to do. Okay, good. Okay. So Jackie, you found the value of this arc. Now find the value of that arc. Okay. Okay. There's still a few people I'm not hearing from yet. Make sure you're putting some answers in the chat box, please. Okay. So this one, most of you have it correct. This one, if we're going from smaller to bigger, we're going to multiply by 2 to get that. So this number would be 70. But remember, that's not the one we're asked to find. We're asked to find the other one. But we know because of the diameter, what's the value of the big arc? Anybody? What's the value of the whole half of my circle over there? Okay. Anybody say it out loud for the rest of us?
180.
180. Thank you, Ram. Okay. So the whole thing is 180. So if I take off this part, I'll have my leftover arc over here. So it's going to be 180 minus 70 to get our 110. Okay. So great. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to get to 15 and 16 very quickly here. Yeah, 15 is coming up right now. Okay, so number 15. Think about, this is why, you guys, it's so important to have a different color. I was helping a couple students yesterday, and they're like, all I have is I can make a squiggly line. Okay, but look at the information that you've been given. I have this arc, and I have this angle. This arc doesn't help me because I need you to process this with me, okay? This is how the questions that you need to ask yourself. This arc doesn't help me right now because I don't have like half a circle. It does help me in that this is it's inscribed angle. Okay, so I can find this angle if I need to. What would the value of this angle in here be? What would the value of this angle be? You can put it in the chat box. Okay. Wouldn't be 110. Okay. It gives me, yeah. So all we're doing is taking half. To go across, we take half. So 80 divided by 2 give me 40. Okay. Now I can find the value of this arc. There's a couple ways to do this, so it's okay. This arc is the matching arc for this angle. So if I want to find the value of this arc, what would I do? Or what would it be? Just put the answer in the chat box. Good. Okay, so remember that we're going from small to big. So we're not going to divide. Okay. Good. Nice. Okay, so most of you got that. So this is 136. So now let's look at what we were asked to find. Remember yesterday we were talking about if you don't know where to start, just start finding all the angles, finding all the arcs, and now we have this arc to find. This looks very much like number 11, where forget the inside stuff, okay? Forget all that. Let's see if I can block that off, okay? I've got 2 arcs, and I need to find the third. So it's very much like number 11, where I have these 2, and I need to find the third. So go ahead and find the third and put your answer in the chat box. Go ahead and let me know if that helped a little bit. So the process here was we take the whole circle and we subtract off the 2 arcs that we have. The 2 arcs added up to be 216. We subtract and got 144. Thank you, Katie. All right, so let's look at 17. This is one where by now you should start to figure out, oh, I know what I can do. Okay. I can find this arc first. So do that. And then find the one that we're asked to find. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Put your answer in the chat box. So just like the last one, we had to find this arc and then subtract what we have. Okay, good. Thank you for putting the arc in the chat box. Once you find the arc FE, remember these have names, arc FE. Arc FE, FE arc is equal to 74 because we multiply by 2. So this would be 74. Good, nice. And then much like before, we add these 2 together and subtract from 360 minus what we have. And we have 144 and 74. So we have 218. So, and this is what I call showing work, guys. I mean, you can do it on a calculator. I get that. But if you can just write 74 and then 360 minus 218, I'm good. Or even just the 360 minus 218. Yeah, we put that back over here better. 360 minus the 218. And then we get 142. And that would be your answer. Okay. Questions on that one? So this answer is 142. Number 16. Number 16 just looks way complicated. But I'm going to tell you it's not. The reason it's not as complicated as it looks is because you have to start with the information you're given. So the information that we're given is only that. Only that. What's the only thing we can find from that is its arc. The only thing we can find with that information is the arc. So put the answer for the arc in the chat box. What is it? Come on, guys, that's mental math. Put the answer for the chat box in the chat box. What is the value of that arc? Good. Because we're going from smaller to bigger. Good. So far, everybody has that correct. Nice. Wow, look at all that participation. That was awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay. Super. So yeah, this one's 100. That's all we can do. That's all we can find. Yep. So now let's look at what else we can do. Well, look at this. I have half a circle. We know what half a circle means. It means that something is 180, either the right half or the left half or the top half or the bottom half, okay? Or the angles. So what would that make this arc over here that they want us to find? Good. Some of you jumped on that one. Yep. Nice. That's mental math. I'd say some of you guys are getting kicked out, but come on back. Nice. Okay. So because you know both of those arcs together have to equal 180, both of those arcs together have to equal 180 because this is a diameter. Okay. So 100 plus what gives me 180? So I would say 180 minus 100 equals 80, and there you go. Okay. So Gianna, you might want to change your and Ernesto to just me rather than everyone. Okay. Did that make more sense? Good. Good. Okay. So some of you were unsure. I know it really looked like a complicated problem, but that's because of all the lines going through. That's one reason I'm like, guys, please just tear a piece of paper and isolate what you're trying to find, isolate what you have, and go from there. Okay. So we didn't even really need like these lines, this line from P to Q and Q to R, we didn't even need. Let's look at 14. This should be getting easier because first of all, this one right here, I don't have any, I don't have an angle that matches, so I can't use that yet. That's not of any value to me yet. I can kind of block it off. So looking at what I do have that I can use, I can find that other arc. So put in the chat box, what is that arc? Okay, good. So we're going to multiply by 2. And this arc would be 190. Perfect. Okay, now that other number might make more sense because I have 190 and I have 87 and I can find my question mark. Good. Some of you have it already. So the process, go ahead.
What if you drew a line like down the middle of like the where the dot is, and you took half of that, which is 180, but then you added that to 95. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me think about that and see. So you're saying, let me do my pencil. So you're saying this, but you wouldn't know that these connect to make a triangle through there. So I would caution you, don't add lines that aren't there. Okay.
Okay, I was
Don't
just
add,
wondering if it like still worked.
yeah.
But
No, because you don't know that it goes through the center exactly. So I would say no.
okay.
Okay. But good question. Thank you. That shows me people are thinking outside the box, not different ways of doing things. I like that. Okay. So again, 360 minus what you have. That was kind of bad writing, sorry. Okay, so we have 277, so 360 minus 277. We get 93. And you're done. Did I get that right? 77. Oh, I think it's 83, huh? Yep, 83. It didn't look right. Okay, 83. Okay, good. And most of you had that. I think there was some subtraction errors, kind of like mine. Okay, one of you got 93 also. I saw an 83, a 93, and 103, but it's 83. Go back and and check your subtraction like I had to do. Okay, so that one was 83. 12 is one that I get asked to do fairly often. Now you're gonna have to really follow me on this one. So if you're working on something else, I need you to focus. We know what the box means. What does the box mean? Somebody say it out loud. Okay, so I put it in the chat box. Anybody else? Went over it yesterday. Okay, good. Yes, the box means 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky because, and this is where especially these little papers come in handy. Okay, so remember, this is my information and its intercepted arc is over here. So if you're going from smaller to bigger, what would that make this whole arc in red? What does that make this whole arc? Good, good. Nice. Keep going, guys. There's 23 of you. Nice. Okay. Okay, so it makes it 180. It makes this whole thing 180. But that's not what I'm asked to find. I'm asked to only find this one, which goes from M to C, arc MC. Okay, so let's look and see what else we have. We have this angle. Well, this angle, its inscribed arc, or I mean, sorry, its matching arc is over here. So how big does that make that one? Okay, Nathan's got it. Okay, Gianna Ram, thank you. That's correct. Okay. So it's the same process, guys. We're multiplying by 2 to get the arc. So this whole thing is 162. This is where it got a little complicated. So if this is 162, what does that make arc LM? If KM is 162, arc KM is 162. Let's do it this way. So KM equals 162. So what does that make LM? This is definitely a more complicated problem because there's more steps. Any ideas? Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to kind of move it over a little bit so we can see. I've got this arc on black from K to L to M. The whole thing is 162, but I know that this is 100. So how big is arc LM? Good. Thank you, Ram. Shanna. Good. Sometimes it helps to separate what you're looking at, especially when there's a lot of information and steps going on. Okay, good. Nice. Okay, so most of you caught on that this is 62. That's 62. That's not the answer of our problem, but we're getting there. So now we're going to look over here. This is C, M, and L. C to M to L is 180. But we just said L to M is 62. So how would I find CM, arc CM? How would I find it and what is it? Good. Shanna's got the answer. Nice. Thank you, ma'am. Good. Thank you, Andrew. Yep. We're going to do just what we did over here and subtract 162 minus 100. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the 180, subtract the 62, and we're going to get 118. Okay. So definitely a little more complicated, but you had to use what you were given. It would have been easier to start with that one, but we didn't know it. Okay. But that's why redrawing things can really help, especially if it got really complicated. Okay, let's do number 10. Still haven't heard from Daniela or Dominic this morning. Okay. Nope. We've done one similar to this in reverse. Okay. In order to find this angle, what do we need to find? What arc do I need to find in order to find that angle? What arc do I need to find in order to find that angle? Put the letters in the chat box. Ernesto, question?
What was
Okay, so in order to find this arc, we take the 360 minus what we have, gives me the 118. And then as many of you have already put in the chat box, we take half of that to get the angle. So 118 divided by 2 is 59. So there's your angle. Nice. If you're doing a lot of scratch work on your paper, please circle your answer just so you know and I know what your answer was. Okay. Okay. Anybody still writing on that one? Okay. I'm going to go through and do some of the ones that might be a little more complicated, just for time's sake, because I still wanted to touch on the one from yesterday. Okay, so 19 is okay. Remember on 21 that this is half a circle. So you need to find this first before you can find the angle. Okay. Same thing with 23. It's exactly the same. Let's do 25. Let's do 25. Okay. So the arc of 100 doesn't really help me. I don't have that information yet. So let's look at what we do have. This one's a little more doable when you're just learning how to do this. It's a little more doable. Okay, so I can find, based on that information, the value of its whole intercepted arc. Put in the chat box, what is the value of the intercepted arc in yellow, and then the answer. So first, what is the value of the yellow arc? The value of the yellow arc. It's not 100. Nathan, that's the final answer. That's fine. Okay. Okay, Gianna's got it. Junior's got it. And that's your final answer. Okay, good. Okay, so it's the same thing we've been doing. I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply by 2. So this whole thing out here is 210. So now if you haven't done so, go ahead and put the answer for the arc we're trying to find. Remember, we're going to take what we have and subtract off what we've been given to find the leftover that we're trying to find. Good. Good, Ethan. Good. Okay, good. So yeah, all we're going to do is we're going to take 210 and subtract off the 100. And that's going to give me 110, my answer. Okay, good. 26 is much like that in that we don't know until we find, well, we know the value of that arc. So I can find this first to find that. Okay. "24, I need to find this arc in order to find that angle. Okay. We'll do 22 and 20, and then we'll move on to yesterday's. Okay. So we have to start with, okay, so on number 22, we have to start with what we've been given. And this is challenging for some students. I really do, I get that. So forget the question mark for now. I want to know, what is the value of Wx? Okay. So I've got to find this whole thing. I'm going to multiply by 2. And this whole arc from W, no, from, sorry, V to W to X, arc V WX is equal to what? Good. Okay. So yes, that whole arc is equal to 170. So WX is equal to, we take the 170, subtract the 110, okay, and we get 60. So we know that this arc is 60. Okay, did I lose anybody with that?
I have a question.
Yes.
What happened to, when do you use like dividing by 2?
When I start with the arc and I have to go to the angle.
Oh,
Like, I think it was like on the other side. Okay. But yeah, when I go from big to small, I'm going to divide by 2. So yeah. So now here, this angle, this arc, sorry, is 60, but that's not what we were trying to find. But a lot of times we have to find what we're not asked to find in order to find what we are. Okay, so now I need to find this arc. So I need to take my whole circle and subtract off what I have. I've got 110 and 110 and 60. So 110, 110, and 60. So when I add those together, I get 280. So I'm going to go 360 minus 280 to get 80. So this arc is 80. Did I lose anybody there? When you don't know what to do, just find all the arcs that you can and find all the angles that you can, and then go from there. Okay, now to find this angle, let's look at the arc we need to find. The arc that we needed to find, and this is part of Gianna's question, okay, is this arc right here. But that arc is 140. That arc is 140. So how would I find the angle? What would it be? Good, good. Yes, awesome. So, I mean, this is a more challenging problem, but honestly, you know how to do it. You have all the knowledge to be able to do this. Okay, it's not 95. A couple people got 95. Um, okay, others are getting it correct. It's less than 80. So if you got the answer less than 80 in the chat box, you're correct. Okay, so yes. So John's question is, when do we divide by 2? This is when we divide by 2. Okay, so when we go from the arc to the angle, we're going to divide by 2. So 140 divided by 2 is 70. And there's your answer. Okay, awesome. We're going to do one more on here, and then we'll transition to the other page. Okay. So, and we're going to kind of go this a little bit quickly here. This is the same idea. Okay. This arc or this angle gives me this arc. Gives me arc TS, TSR. So arc TSR is equal to 97 times 2, or 180, 94, 194. So this whole thing is 194. So what would that make arc SR? What would that make arc SR? See, this looked a lot more complicated because it had the quadrilateral, the four-sided figure inside, but it didn't really matter. They didn't have to put this line there. Okay, good. Aiden's got it. We're literally going to take arc TSR and we're going to subtract off arc TS, and that's going to give us the arc SR. So I'm going to take the 194 and I'm going to subtract off the TS to get the SR, which is going to be 134. Okay. So except for like the one or two that seemed more complicated, can you put in the chat box if this is making sense? Or on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I don't get it at all, and 5 being I got it and I could teach it. Okay. Tell me where you're at on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, good. Nice. Good job. I see a few 5s in there. Okay, nice. Most of you are a 3 or a 4. Okay. Any 2s or 1s that are still confused? Nice. Awesome. Okay. I'm sorry you're still confused. If you're giving me a 1 or a 2, I would highly encourage you to stay after for a few minutes and let me try to clarify a few things. Okay. And I really do appreciate your honesty, your transparency. But I think, 3 minutes even can really help answer those questions. Okay, so we're going to transition back to what we were doing yesterday. So let me get that paper real quick. Okay, so we pretty much got through more than half of the assignment yesterday. And I would encourage you to go through and do like the easy ones first if you want to. So this is what we were actually just doing, number 16. If I have the arc and I want to find the angle, what do we do? Just put it in the chat box. What do we do? What operation? Multiply, divide, subtract, add, what? Good. Good. We're just doing this. We spent like almost all period doing it. Okay. When you're going from your arc to your angle, we're going from big to small. Yes, we're going to divide. Divide by 2. Okay. So this becomes 130 divided by 2 is 65. You're done. Okay. So those are the easy ones. Let's go through and do a few more, like the tail problems, like number 12. Let's do number 12. So remember, this is our scenario where we have two secants. So we have the angle or your tail, okay, that little tail part down there is equal to 1/2 the big arc minus the small arc. So go ahead and put your answer in the chat box. It's a pretty easy one. Put your answer in the chat box. So to recap, on 26, go back to 24. We took 360 and subtracted off the 260 to get the 100. Once I know the 100, we can find the angle by just simply taking half. So the angle ended up being 50. For number 26, we're kind of doing that in reverse. We have this angle. From that angle, we can multiply by 2. So 79 times 2 to give us the arc RS is 158. Now that we have 158, we can actually subtract that from the 360, our whole circle, and we can find out that the leftover, or the arc we're trying to find, is 202. And that's it. Okay. So don't forget, if you have questions, you can reach me after school tutoring, office hours, or by text. So anyway, guys, have a great day, and I will see you next time.